Hey guys, and welcome back to BrickTech Studios. Today we're going to talk about my initial impressions of the Halo Infinite campaign. Before we get started, I wanted to say that I'm going to be talking about some spoilers, so if you haven't played the campaign, I highly recommend you go play that first and then come back here and watch the video. So for starters, in terms of the story, oh my god, so much better than Halo 5. It's a huge relief that 343 was able to improve the storyline and somehow include Halo 5's really rough story into Halo Infinite, but I think they built off of Halo 4 more than Halo 5, which was interesting because there were several callbacks to Chief and Cortana's split at the end of Halo 4, especially that one scene where they actually reenacted the scene from Halo 4 where Cortana dies. But what was interesting for me is that they recreated that with Chief's new Halo Infinite armor, which is interesting because it sort of indicates to me that they might in the future retcon the old armor. Who knows? I would be a fan of that because the Infinite art style is incredible. Everything has gone back to the Bungie era style with Forerunner architecture, the Banished, and the UNSC equipment. Everything is looking how it should. In fact, the UNSC stuff is really a continuation of Halo Reach's art style, which is a really nice improvement because with 343's UNSC design, it really reminded me of Titanfall and very, generic sci-fi weaponry and guns like from Call of Duty with the futuristic games that they created. So it's nice to see a return to form with the UNSC stuff. I'm really a fan of the new sidekick pistol. I think it's one of the best sidearms Halo's ever had, especially because you can spam the gun really quickly and the bloom is pretty minimal, so you can get a lot of great headshots and plays where you turn around the encounter and whip out the sidekick to clean up some kills. The Commando is also an interesting new addition. It's a really different type of UNSC gun because it's actually a full automatic, which I didn't realize at first. So initially during the beta and all of those test flights that they were doing, I was actually using the Commando as it was a DMR or a battle rifle. But in fact, you can just hold the trigger down and it's a fully automatic rifle. So ever since I figured that out, I've been a real big fan of it because the rate of fire is really quick and the skill gap is really down to controlling the recoil of the gun, which can be pretty severe. I do have a critique about the consistency of the shots fired. I do notice that sometimes the gun fires quicker than others, which is strange because you can't really rely on the gun to perform consistently. So I'd like to see that kind of fixed in the future, and maybe a patch can come out to streamline the whole sandbox as a whole, because I do have some issues with the weapons, especially the pulse carbine, which seems to be pretty useless in multiplayer. Interestingly, the pulse carbine can hone in on enemies, but it doesn't do much damage. But what's funny is that it's actually very effective against bosses in the campaign. And let me say, the boss battles in Halo Infinite was a pleasant surprise because I was not anticipating it being as good as it turned out to be. I do have a massive issue though with Bashius, the infamous brute from the excavation site with the gravity hammer, because he was way too difficult. When I played the campaign, I did it on heroic difficulty, and Bashius took me probably 40 attempts to defeat, and it was very stressful, and the close quarters in which you had to fight him didn't make it any better, especially because Bashius has a crazy lunge attack with the gravity hammer and can usually take you out with 1 or 2 hits, so that resets you back to the beginning of the battle. And then after a while, hearing that cutscene play back and watching it happen again over and over and over again got pretty tedious. The one thing I will say about the Bashius boss battle is that the voice acting was really funny, and I loved the voice actor's take on the character, and I'd like to see Bashius in some new material down the line. Maybe if we have a throwback campaign DLC to the events before Halo Infinite, it'd be cool to see his character more. The other boss battles like Hyperius and Tavares was really difficult as well because I didn't have very good weapons at the time going into the encounter, and the Brute Chopper absolutely snipes from a distance, and on top of that, Tavares also has his scrap cannon to spam you from a distance as well. That's something that was a little frustrating about this campaign. The situational awareness of your enemies is much larger than before, so going into encounters when you think you're not going to be spotted, you actually are, and you will be sniped from a distance, especially from the jackal snipers, which make a glorious return in this campaign. One thing that I was a bit disappointed about is the viability of using vehicles in the whole game in multiplayer and campaign. Vehicles are just really underpowered, first of all, and also their health is minuscule. Like, you'll get taken out from a distance easily from the Banished or Forerunners, and in multiplayer it's absolutely a joke. Honestly, I'd never use vehicles besides the Wasp on high power, but I think vehicles really do need a big buff so that they're actually usable, especially because now we have many different equipment pickups that make taking vehicles down much easier. It's a similar problem that Halo 5 had, where everyone had advanced mobility, so vehicles weren't really a good option to use because most likely you could get boarded or outmaneuvered by a Spartan who has thrust. But now that equipment is a pickup, using a vehicle should be more useful, but it doesn't seem so because of the health bar that needs to be buffed. In terms of the campaign story, I was a big fan of it. The boss battles were really good. The boss battle with Jaeger was really great. The horror aspect of the setting in which you have to fight him is great. And the Mary Had a Little Lamb in the background playing from the pilot's little comm really enhanced the scene and the creepiness factor. And on top of that, the look of Jaeger is really dope with the active camo and the red energy blade. And in fact, when you kill him, apparently his body disappears into cloak. So that has led a lot of people to speculate that Jaeger could come back in a future campaign DLC, which I would love to see happen. Escharum was a really rewarding boss battle, and his final cutscene was really cool. And the Harbinger was also a really nice final boss battle of the game, although I wish we would have learned more about her and her motivations for bringing the Endless back. Was she a member of the Endless species? I don't really know, but that's something I hope to learn more of in a future campaign DLC. My only real big issue with the campaign, besides the vehicles needing a big health buff, is that the campaign really needed some more biomes to explore rather than just having the Pacific Northwest woodlands biome. And although the map was really cool and there's a lot of places to explore, the look of the biome got a little boring, honestly, after a while, especially during later missions where you have to go across the map, i.e. the 4 Forerunner beam towers that you have to go to. Traversing the map and having it look the same over and over again got a little boring, and it also was a bit disappointing not to have a snow biome or a desert biome or a jungle swamp biome from past Halo games make a return. But at the end of the campaign, the last cutscene did take place in the desert, so I do hope that we'll be getting some more varied locations in a future campaign DLC. Besides that, one note that I just thought of was how difficult hunters are to defeat in this game, and I don't know how I feel about it because there was several instances of where I had to kill hunters and it took me forever because I was constantly getting killed, especially due to their dual mode fuel rod cannon that they use. So one is a traditional fuel rod where it shoots a cannon at you and it's pretty easy to dodge, but they have a second mode where it's a machine gun practically, and they just mow you down, especially when you're trying to get away with the grapple shot. When you're in midair, you're kind of screwed, so getting mowed down by their plasma machine gun was really frustrating at times. Other than that, Halo Infinite, it's a new game with lots of things that have to be improved, especially the cosmetic unlocks and how that works. I don't really want to dive into that very much in this video, but I am going to make a video in the future talking about multiplayer and what can be improved upon with that. All I'll say about customization in this video is that I was a bit disappointed with how you unlocked stuff in the campaign. I was expecting some actual armor pieces, but for the most part, I don't think there was any armor because I went around and found all the Spartan armor lockers, and they were pretty much just emblems and vehicle and armor coatings and also stances. But other than that, we didn't get anything, which was kind of disappointing because I still am rocking the default armor. I didn't buy the battle pass yet, and I don't know if I want to because I kind of feel cheated, honestly, because I bought the campaign. I paid $60. I pre-ordered it on the Xbox store digitally. I didn't get a pre-order bonus, and I was anticipating getting some sort of armor unlock or maybe the Heroes of Reach battle pass for free since I paid for the full game, but I got nothing. So I feel a little jaded about that, and I'm hoping that 343 improves the store, because paying like $10 to $20 for like a couple armor sets is ridiculously overpriced, considering after you buy 3 of them, you've paid for the campaign. The value proposition is ridiculous and honestly kind of offensive, but they have addressed that recently. Yesterday, they did some improvements for the new Tenrai event coming out in January, so I hope that the store prices also come down because they really need to be fixed. But other than that, the game is really fun. I played through it for a couple days on Heroic. The campaign was really great. I'm glad they were able to reevaluate the story and get the story back on track where Halo fans are now invested again. The ending with Cortana's message to the weapon and Master Chief was really great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some campaign DLC because this new cast of characters is really great. The weapon is great. I like the pilot a lot too, and I'm hoping we see Blue Team again in a DLC, and of course the Arbiter. Let's bring the Arbiter back in a DLC. Let's have him with the Chief doing some things, fighting the Endless, fighting the Flood again. I'd love to see the Flood come back. There's just a lot of directions that the campaign can take, and I'm really glad that the story allows for that, allows for a lot of different ways the story can go, a lot of DLC that can come in the next couple years from 343. So the future of this game is looking really good, and I'm hoping you guys are all enjoying it too. Thank you so much for watching this video, and leave a comment down below of your thoughts of the campaign. And again, I'm going to be coming out with a multiplayer video discussing its pros and cons very soon as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye!